Righto, you shaggers and swaggers. Welcome back to the Cod Tales Podcast. I'm Az.
I'm Dane.
And, mate, we have another special guest way up from Early Beach in Queensland. Mate, who have we got?
We got Brent Thompson, mate, from Mudskippa.
Mudskippa, mate. He does some awesome stuff, mate. Combos for kids.
Yep. Combos for kids is where people donate their beloved or old fishing gear, and he gives them to some kids in need.
Keeps them off the streets.
Yeah.
Straightens up their heads a little bit, and he's really good with the mental health side.
Yeah, for sure. Talking about a bit of barra fishing, which is, common territory up there.
Yeah, a bit of barra versus cod in this episode, so it's kind of good.
Yeah, I also get to talk to him about life as a decky on a charter boat.
Yeah, he had quite a few years experience as that, mate, so yeah, I can't wait to get into that bit.
Yeah, and of course to top it off, a little cherry on top, some spearfishing tales.
Let's go. Woo!
Won't be recording the video anyway, just using the audio for this. So
yeah,
you just
beautiful.
Get to look at our ugly. Yeah.
I'll strip off.
Let's get looked at. Good stuff, man. Yeah. So, mate, welcome to the Cod Tales Podcast. As you can tell, we're probably a couple of country boys compared to what sort of fishing you do up there, but,
It looks like you're from a good pasture, fellas.
Absolutely, mate. The grass goes thick here, mate.
Yeah, bloody oath, mate.
True cod fisherman by the looks. That's definitely what I pictured.
Yeah, there's a lot of sitting down and waiting and drinking beer, that's for sure.
Yeah, couple of tins between bites.
Yeah, can't help ourselves.
Yeah. No, so honestly, thanks for having me on. As I was a bit surprised when you reached out. So yeah, more than happy to get on for a bit of a chat and tell a few war stories. I do love a good war story.
Bloody oath. Yeah. Well, my misso, she actually sent me this ABC article, and it came up with you and the Mudskippa, and I went, oh, cool. This is actually pretty cool. Same sort of thing we're trying to do down here, and yeah, sweet. Let's have a chat with this fella.
That's what it's all about. It's no such thing as a competition when it comes to this. It's all about everyone working together for the same cause, I think.
Yeah, no, definitely, man, definitely. So I think we'll get started off with our typical question. How did you get started fishing, mate?
Probably like a lot of people, I guess. Got started young by my dad. I think there's the old photos of me hanging around the bait bucket when I was 3. Started back when I was about fishing mullet out of the bucket, and then started for lure fishing when I was about 3. My old man would take me down the local pond and flick for tarpon and barra, and I think I was about 3 then. Started lure fishing, and that probably just ignited it.
Awesome.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah. So is barra your preferred sort of target species up there, or?
I think so. Look, everything's a good bit of fun, but when it comes to fishing, that's the addiction. That is an addiction. Fish and more goes down. That's where we try and what we're doing now. It's about getting people to fire up that addiction. It's a healthy addiction. Some might say maybe not.
Yeah, for sure.
We'd be absolutely lost going up there, being cod fishers and going to catch something that actually wants to pull a bit of drag, and it should be an eye opener.
I don't know, mate. I've spoken to a few cod fishermen who tell you how good cod are at fighting and this and that. Their closest comparison to barramundi, and I sort of look at them and go, look, I haven't caught cod before, but I don't know. I won't pass judgment without knowing, but you can tell by the smile on my face that I may hold a different thought on that. I don't want to cuss out too many cod fishermen since I'm on a codcast, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, well, we would know the same way with barra. Like, I've never caught barra, and I think Aaron's ever caught barra. It's definitely something that's always been on our bucket list.
Yeah, I actually get my first shot in June. I'm going a shit time of year, but I'll let up there and do the impoundments. in Queensland.
You going to Airlie or are you going up something
I'll
different?
do Prossie, I'll do the Fitzroy, Teembra, do all them over 2 weeks, but I'm probably going to do my ass going at the wrong time of year.
Yeah, look, it's definitely not, especially impoundments. That's generally why no one fishes on impoundments in that time of year, I think.
Yeah.
But shoot me a message. We also have a couple of ambassadors in the region as well. They do love their dam fishing. They fish all the tournaments on the local dams. So Prossie, Faust, Prossie is Faust, Teembra, Kinchant. So when you're in the area, shoot us a message and we might send you out one of our guides.
Yeah, that'll be the go, mate. I need all the help I can get.
The thing these days is you need to know how to use the live scope and do all that jazz as well. Yeah. It's no longer just going and find somewhere to flick.
It's definitely changed the game, that old live scope.
But the old barra fishing, like I think that's the comparison they get with cod, is barra are very moody. And they're the kind of fish that you can spend 11 hours and 59 minutes targeting, and you're looking at them going, they're there, and then they bite for 1 minute, and then they shut down again, and you just scratch your head and go home and go, I missed my one hit for the day. Or you get there in the first 2 casts, you get 2 fish, and you're like, oh, we're on here, and then you pull the boat out 12 hours later, and you had those first 2 fish or those first 2 hits at the start of the day, and that was that.
Should have put the trailer back or the boat back on the trailer after 5 minutes, not 12 hours.
Exactly right. But hey, I'm a sucker for it. If I'm in the water, I'm generally in there for the long haul because it's not just about catching the fish. It is, but it's all about the experience too, and getting that learning, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
Same with us. Like, doesn't matter if we catch anything or catch a big haul. We're just out there for the fun of it either way.
Yeah, bit of a laugh.
Yep.
Yeah, there's always fuck-ups. I guarantee that. Mate, we are known for stuff-ups and fucking shit breaking down here. It's absolutely gold.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that's the reason why we nearly made this podcast is because there's more mistakes than there is triumphs. So
like just last week we were down at, I don't know if you know Lake Mulwala, but we were down there doing a cod comp. Yeah, we were down there doing a cod comp and just doing the cod comp. I snapped a rod. I broke a bit off the skeg off the bottom of my motor. All sorts of stuff went wrong, but you know.
Shit show.
That's why I've been so careful.
That should be us sensible.
So, mate, you've also mentioned barra is pretty special to you. And you do a bit of barra tagging, is that right?
Yeah, so we work in with the local fish stocking association, and they do have event days that we try and tag along to, but that is something we're working in now with Suntag. So when we do our fishing clinics with the kids and all that sort of thing, we're going to start looking at tagging some fish while we're going and getting that invaluable data back into the system when people start catching fish. And I've only ever got one tagged fish, and unfortunately for it, I shot it. I didn't realise it had a tag in it. The water was pretty dirty, and then when I pulled it in, I was like, oh, that's a nice barra. And then I looked on the back, it had a tag on it. I was like, I would have generally released something like that, but as you know, when you spear fish, there's no such thing as catch and release.
No, unfortunately.
No, definitely not.
What sort of information?
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. What sort of information are you trying to get out of tagging the barra, and what's the expectation of what you're going to do with that information?
A lot of it's growth rates. So that's the information. And also the distance that they travel. So you get an idea with fish movements. They're the two main ones. Which I love that data. I've been following Suntag for however long now on the Facebook page, and I'll just, as soon as something's out, I'm going through it, and it blows me away. Some of those fish, like how far they travel. Some get released on the same day or caught on the same day and tagged, and then they both go opposite ends.
Holy shit!
One goes 500 kilometres north, and the other one goes 400 kilometres south in about the same time span, and another one sits in the same river for most of its life, and you're like. You work out through that tagging that fish are just like people. Some people live in their hometown for their whole life and they whinge about never travelling anywhere, and someone can't wait to get out of there and go and travel the world. So that's the thing I love most about it. But more so as well, that sort of data gives us a little bit of ammunition when it comes to trying to work for funding as far as infrastructure. Like, everyone wants boat ramps, everyone wants all the stuff because you know how much money us anglers contribute to the economy. But without data, like the tagging data, without that, you really struggle to come to the party trying to chase funding.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
That's cool. And most of the funding up there, what's it going to be used for? Or what are you hoping to get used for?
Yeah, boat ramps, facilities. Like, our big one, like in our local area, is we're really pushing for more facilities in the dams.
Gotcha.
Like Mackay, for example, where I am at the moment, in Mackay, a few meetings at the moment, and we got 3 dams. We got the pick of the bunch. But we haven't even got a jetty at any of them. Like, some of the places have got jetties. Like, we've got Youngaloo. It's got a toilet facility, showers. It's an awesome camping spot. But yeah, like, you struggle to get a jetty set up there. It's all just a concrete ramp and some lights. And like, look, we are getting there. There is plans in place. But yeah, it's been fairly slow. And I guess that's probably the detriment to the area as well, as we've got 3. That funding needs to be shared across. Whereas, example, you compare that to Lake Proserpine, Peter Faust, and they got 3 jetties. One at the campgrounds where people can walk down when the water's high enough and literally catch barra off the campsite there. They've got some of the best barra fishing at Peter Faust, and I probably shouldn't say it too loud, but it's straight off the boat. To be honest, most good barra fishing, like most boat ramps in North Queensland, you can go and catch barramundi at. A lot of people put their boats in and drive away, yet you can probably catch just a good barramundi off the boat ramp. That's Prossie River in a nutshell. Like, I'll spend my 12 hours there and I'll come back with 1 fish or 2 hits for the day, and there's a couple sitting there and they've been floating liveys for half an hour and they got 2 barra and a salmon. They're like, oh, how'd you go? And I'm like, 1 fish for 12 hours. It was a good 65, and they were like, oh, we just got an 80 centimetre 5 minutes ago, just off a dirty old prawn. I'm like, yeah, cool.
Yeah, that burned you.
But yeah, with the dams, like, that's like Lake Prossie, it's a classic one. Like, yeah, you come down to that jetty at night time and you can catch consecutive barra. You go watch the tournaments fish there, and they spend the last hour of the tournament. They got 12, 14 boats all flicking lures at the boat ramp.
Yeah.
Really? That's nuts.
And most of them are the same. Like, a concrete ramp is a congregation area, and if you got boats pulling in and out, well, you got stuff getting stirred up, bait getting stirred up, and so barra opportunistic lazy feeders. So they're only going to roll in and sit where the easiest spot for a feed is. And I know that from experience at Kinchin Dam is, like, hey, I struggle to catch dam barra, but I talk to people and they're like, oh, mate, I just went out there the other night and trolled up 4 barra 20 metres in front of the boat ramp and went home. And you talk to the pros who go out there and they're like, mate, I did 20 kilometres that night and 100 litres of fuel and I got 2 taps.
Yeah, it's a different world. It is a different world. But while we're on that subject, mate, have you got like a trip or a fish that just stands out and it's going to be with you till the end, like something that really highlights what you want?
For me, like, I'm yet to get the trophy barra. Like I said, I do love barra. My heart is flicking lures at timber. That's where that was. Like I said, I grew up lure fishing at 3. But if we're talking about that memorable, that fish that just sticks with me, for me it was Spanish mackerel. That fish drove me to break point. And I'm sure we've all got that fish. For some people, it's probably cod. I talk to some people, and they're like, "Oh, mate, it took me 5 years of chasing cod to catch one, or catch that decent one." For me, that was Spanish mackerel. I still feel that I still feel my guts twist when I start talking about it. Like that fish, like it started. Like I said, I've been fishing since I was a kid, but when I was about 19, I picked up a job on a charter boat here in Mackay. Awesome. We got out there in winter one day, and 4-way hookup, trolling between 30 boats at one of the spots out there. And that was actually a good one. We come over the spot, and the skipper looks at me. We got 4 lines out, and he's like, "You ready? 3, 2, 1." Drops his finger, and 4 lines go off out the back like 4-way hookup.
Oh wow!
And I was
that's
like, "You're kidding." Yeah, you're kidding. Like, ass talent, I don't know. So then I grabbed the other rod with a big metal slice on it, dropped it down. That was probably before metal jigs were a thing. They were just called metal slices back then. But yeah, dropped that down and started winding it back and hooked up to a fifth one. And being the deckhand on the boat, I had to just hand it over. You can't be winding in, so I handed it over and we ended up getting all 5 fish to the boat. That was good, but again, I didn't catch it. But that sort of started it for me, and I spent about 2.5 years working on fishing boats, on charter boats. Yep. And I lost that many Spanish mackerel. Like, you name it, I lost it that way. Like, I had deckies, I had customers gaffing lures or gaffing hooks out of mouth at the back of the boat instead of gaffing the fish. Yeah, I hooked up to a big one day on the hand line out on the tender by myself, and there was about 4 Spanish mackerel swimming with it. And when I got it back to the boat, got right up, and then another Spanish come through and just cut the line straight off. I was left standing there just with a cut line, Spanish mackerel swimming around the boat, and the adrenaline was pumping that hard. I couldn't even tie a knot. My fingers were shaking. I couldn't even tie a knot, and I'm watching these Spanish swim around the boat. And went on, like I said, that went on for years. And it just got to the point I was done. I was about ready to throw the towel in, and we're out on a 4-day charter, and it was on the last day, and we'd caught, I think it was 38 Spanish for the trip. And I'd caught none of them. I'd had a pilly or a livey floating out all day, every day off the main boat that I was decking on. And the other bloke who stayed on the boat with me, the customer, he got 3 for the trip. And I'm swapping rod holders with him, I'm changing bait, I'm trying to copy him, and just it wouldn't happen. And then on the last day, just before smoko, my big rod went off and put up a hell of a fight. And got it in 23 kilos.
That's
it was as big as me. Look, I'm not the biggest fella, but it was as big as me, 23 kilos.
So he's only like our calf. pretty much. So I was ecstatic. Like that was the monkey off my shoulder after all that time. And then hour later we had lunch, had smoko. Hour later, bang, another one. That was 21 kilos. But this one, it ripped the drag off, and I've run down, grabbed the rod, and I'm like, why the frickin' hell is my line going under the boat? And I look out like 300 metres out to the side, and here's this Spanish mackerel just jumping in the air. And I'm just like, what's going on? And my boss has just looked at me. He's like, you got to go for a swim, mate. Your line's hooked under the boat. And so he's handed me a knife, and I've stripped my gear off and jumped in the water and swam halfway under the boat, which is it was about 10 metres halfway along that boat. And there's one barnacle on the bottom of the boat, and my line's hooked around it. And, you kidding?
Yeah, flicked it off, swam back, got back out of the water, and just so I got out of the water and grabbed the rod, my CD kicked over in the CD player. We're all allowed one CD in the CD player. My one kicked in. Techno kicked in, the beat dropped, and I just grabbed the rod and just pump and wind this thing all the way back in. About 500 metres of line on this big game rod, and I was pumped by the end of that.
Yeah,
so went from nothing. It went from nothing to 2 20+ kilo Spanish mackerel within about an hour. So
that's magic, isn't it?
That was special for me. And then that afternoon we were trolling into the anchorage for the last night, and the rod went off again, the troll rod. And everyone was knackered. All the boys were on the beers. It was for a bucks party. And they all looked at me. They're like, go on, 3 from 3 for the day, mate. You've earned it. And I was like, nah, I grabbed the buck. And he was whinging. He's like, no, I don't want to do it. I'm too tired. And I put the gimbal on him, and I made him wind it in. And that was 20 kilos as well. So
wow,
punishment.
That was a hell of a day. And the best part about my first one, we got it in, knocked it on the head. And then I'm going to get the hook out of its mouth, and I'm like, why is all my line frayed? And I'd actually been using a little P-sinker to get the pilly just a couple of metres underneath the surface. And the little P-sinker saved me, because you look down at the Spanish mackerel and it had a little hole on its teeth where the sinker had been sitting.
Oh, yeah.
Because I don't use wire. I don't use wire for Spanish. That was something I learnt off an old fella on another charter. We couldn't catch Spanish one day. Like there was a school of 100 swimming around the back of the boat, and there's like five live baits with balloons hanging out the back, and all these people are just going ecstatic. They're just mental trying to catch all these Spanish, and this one old fella taps me on the shoulder. He's like, "Here, young fella, watch this." Took all the wire off. He just put one single hook, one pilly, and said, "Watch this." They won't chase it because it's got leader. It's got wire. So he's like, "Watch this." Throw it out the back, and he did the countdown to me. He goes 5, 4, 3, 2, bang. And he caught 3 in about probably 10 minutes. And then he's like, "Right, I better let someone else have a go." And all these other blokes are whinging. They're like, "What are you doing, Gary?" Carrying on, and then he told them, and they're like, "Bullshit! You don't take wire, you don't catch Spanish mackerel if you got wire." And he's like, "Well, I just got frickin' 3." So, and then I think we got about 20, 22 or something in the next hour. They were just coming over the side, and the old skipper's come down beside me because he was quite chuffed. And I don't know if you've been on a charter boat before, but you never stand behind the gaff man.
No.
And the skipper come down real proud of himself for a good hang, and I've gaffed a 20-kilo mackie and thrown it straight on his toes. He didn't talk to me or anyone else for the rest of the trip after that. He needed probably 4 stitches in that toe, I reckon.
Oh.
Yeah, I didn't get a call back for that trip after that, so I wonder why.
Oh, dear.
But, yeah, so for me,
standing in the wrong spot.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. Number 1 rule, if you're catching Spanish mackerel, is you don't stand behind the man with the gaff. So simple. So, for me, like I said, that Spanish mackerel, that was line fishing. I had the same issue spearfishing. I spent years missing them, pulling out of them. They drove me to break point. But I had my glory day eventually. That was only a few years ago now. That was 5 years ago. Down the old stomping ground, the Mackay Harbour Wall, like that. I learnt to spearfish down there, and I went there. We went to another spot that morning. We spent about 5 hours swimming around, and we got no fish. Don't even think we saw a fish worth shooting. And I was defeated. My mate was defeated, and I was just like, nah. Just had that drive, that hunger, and I was like, nah. I need a fish. I need a redemption. So I went by myself. Golden rule of spearfishing, don't go by yourself. Learned from experience through some of the stories I could tell you, but I did anyway. Like I said, you get that bug. The fire was burning that day, and I went out to the harbour wall, already knackered, and got in the water about an hour, nothing. Saw one big mangrove jack as I coming up from the last dive, and thought, I'll do one more dive on that jack. Water's getting real dirty. So I went down, couldn't find the jack, and as I'm coming back up, my legs are shaking, I'm that tired. And as I'm coming up, I just stopped and had that instinct, and that's something that, if people wonder about spearfishing, it's the instinct. Like, fishing you get a bit of it, but spearfishing puts you in the zone. And that is what I love about that sport, is you get those instinctual decisions. You go left, right, stop, go. It's things that until you do it, you don't quite understand it. But I just had that instinct of something, and I've just stopped about halfway up, looked out into the gloom. It's about a hazy 2-3 metres. Current's running, not a pleasant time to be diving, late afternoon. But in through the gloom, I saw this shadow come in, and I was like, frickin' barracuda. Frickin' had a quick whinge to myself for a split second, and then as it come past me, I was like, oh my God, it's a Spanish mackerel. And instinctually, I already had it lined up. I already had my gun in the right place, just in case. And as soon as I knew it was a Spanish, I just pulled the trigger, bang, straight to the back of the head, and it just rolled over. And that was it. It was all over in a split second, and I just grabbed it, hit the surface, and just threw myself up on the rocks and climbed up the rocks with another 23 kilo Spanish mackerel.
Wow.
And, so both my PBs are exactly 23 kilos on line and on spear. And the special part about that moment, and that's again for everyone listening out there, it's the manifestation. That for me, that moment, that was a childhood dream. Like that's like I grew up spearfishing the harbour wall, and it wasn't perfect with the stopping halfway. That shot placement, that perfect shot to the back of the head, like the spear didn't even penetrate. I had a 900 gun, like a baby gun, with a tiny little float on it, and I'd always envisage, like, if I didn't get that kill shot to the back of the head, that thing would either drown me or it'd tow me out to sea, like, yeah, and literally, like, yeah, just like you practice in your dreams, I executed the shot, and I got the trophy, and yeah,
That's magic.
That's awesome.
I got the monkey off me back, and so yeah, like, mate, as you fellas can see at the moment, the smile on my face, really.
Yeah.
So both those moments, I said that fish pushed me. That fish
Yeah.
made me question everything.
Oh, that's
So
great.
you obviously been spearfishing for quite a long time now.
Yeah, I think I started when I was about 15. Unfortunately, since I decided to move up to Ely Beach for our sea change, I think I've only been spearfishing about 5 times in 3 years since I left Mackay. Don't have a boat up
Gotcha.
there. Busy doing other stuff, and you just don't get clean coastal water. But yeah, I've been spearfishing since I was 15, and then I worked as a commercial diver when I was about 21 till 23. So I did that for about a year and a half. Doing the coral diving. I'm sure you've seen fish tanks, saltwater fish tanks.
Yeah, yeah.
More popular one, Finding Nemo. The bloke who goes and steals Nemo.
Yeah.
That's what I used to do for a job.
Oh, right.
That's brilliant.
That is
Yeah.
unreal. That is.
Didn't do
Nemo,
the
watch
fish for
out.
very long. The fish got the better of us, so it wasn't very pleasant. But yeah, the coral industry is massive here in Australia. But I think they're just starting to pull the reins on it now with the government and the quota system. But yeah, massive industry here in Australia. 'Cause, everyone needs their fish tanks.
Yeah. And there's some big money in those saltwater fish tanks. I had a mate in town here that used to have one, and I think he put like 30 grand into this fish tank. And it wasn't very big, but some of the coral and the little wrasse and shrimp and all sorts of stuff that he had in there were just bonkers, like pricey. Absolutely
Oh, mate,
nuts.
well, that's what I used to do for a job. And, mate, we could do it. We could do a whole podcast just on my experiences doing the coral diving and, being underwater like that. Like, again, get into scuba diving. Downside of scuba diving is you probably only got about an hour on a tank and then you're up and you're done and whatever. Whereas I used to do that commercially, so you'd spend 3 hours a day, 4 hours a day underwater some days, depending how deep you were going.
Yeah.
Swimming
You'd
around.
have to be.
Imagine how much weight they'd have to put on us to get us to sink. Fuck.
Yeah, I was just thinking, like, you'd have to be so fit after doing that for quite a while because, like, I just think about, I've done a bit of skin diving and snorkeling and that sort of stuff, and after the day, I'm knackered. I can't think of doing that day in, day out.
Yeah. They were big days, big weeks sometimes. Like, I think the longest we stayed out for was 7-8 days. Collecting coral, and some days, like, you'll swim a whole bay of an island just trying to find the right coral or trying to find the right areas where the fish swim. Because that's the thing too, is like, and that's when you see people go out and they sit on the one spot all day fishing and don't catch anything, come home and whinge that there's no fish left in the sea.
Yeah.
That's because the fish don't live in that area, or they might only live in that area for an hour a day at a certain tide, and then when you start swimming the underwater world like that, you can swim a whole bay, and there might only be 3 sections that are 20 square meters of fish life. Like, you get scattered fish life throughout. You get some little fish, and you'll get a few lone trout sitting out on the sand of a bay somewhere. But you'll find they're just pockets of fish, and sometimes you'll swim 2 kilometers, 3 kilometers till you come across a little 20-meter section where you'll bang a few fish, or you'll find the nice coral, and then you're gone again.
Wow,
So I think that's what a lot of line fishermen don't understand until you put a mask on. I do the same. Like, I've been line fishing for 2 hours and freaking no fish here. And then you put the mask on and jump in, and they're just swimming around looking at all the lures that you've just peppered the rocks with. And I go around and collect all my lures again, and all the fish are just looking at me. And you're like, oh, yeah, well, they're obviously not in the mood today. So then you just shoot them, and you get your feed, and you go home.
Get that up, yeah.
If you can't do it one way, do it the other.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it, and that's the thing. Small tides, fish don't generally feed too hard, but they're also pretty lazy. They don't swim very fast either, so...
Yeah. Well, mate, it sounds like we're definitely going to have to get you back on a couple of times to talk about. We got line fishing to talk about, spear fishing, and then coral collecting. But just to go back to our line fishing stuff, have you got like some proper funny stories or a couple of long lines you can tell us about a couple of trips? Like being a commercial fisherman, sure you would have on charters and that seen a few funny things over the time.
Oh, mate, it's one of those things. I've actually been racking my brain for a week now, trying to go back and replay a lot of those ones.
Yeah.
Like I have a lot of underwater ones, which I said we can touch them another time. But those charters, like, I always crack up. And so when I still do charters today, even our fishing clinics, if you get a good group, I'll do a bit of a safety induction, and I will put this in, and that's rule number one of fishing is women and children always catch the biggest, best, or the most. And you get the blokes get on, and like you'll do a fishing charter, a Christmas party, and you got 8 people, 7 blokes, and the admin girl. And they get on the morning, they got the shirts, they brought their own rods, they're already boasting about the biggest red that they caught, and all the carry on, and she's just standing there just minding her own business. And they all laugh at that, and they're like, righto mate, and I just smile, and I'm like, well, we'll see at the end of the day. And sure enough, by the end of the day, you come back, and the only girl on the boat, or the only 2 girls on the boat, have got the biggest smile because they caught either caught the biggest, the trophy fish, or the most, and the boys are there licking their wounds. But I've had a few of those instances, but one in particular, I had that was a company here in Mackay, and I think it was a husband-wife team and the engineering crew. And they got on, they all had a bit of a laugh, and off we went, and she absolutely blitzed them all day. And me being me, as you may be aware, when you're the decky, you got a license to give lip. And I took that job very personally. And this bloke in particular, you could just see him winding up. He just wound up, and then so the boys are having a few beers. They're starting to feed it to him. He's paid for the whole trip, him and the wife. And got right towards the end of the day, and they got a double hookup. And I'm just like, we're on here. And for some reason, as you know, when you're a decky, you seem to know these things. More of it's more just shit talk. But I'm like, a couple of cobia are on here, I reckon. And sure enough, up pops this cobia beside the boat, and I'm like, I went to gaff it, and it was old mate across from me, the husband, and his has come up our side of the boat and got tangled around someone's line, and I'm like, mate, just chill out, like we'll get it off in a second. I've gaffed the wife's cobia. And he's just absolutely spat the dummy, and he's yanked on the line, and I'm telling him to free spool it so we can get this tangle undone and get this cobia back on his side so I can gaff it. And he just spat the dummy, and he's yanked on it, and he's cut the line on the bottom of the boat. And so I've gaffed a 20-kilo cobia for his missus, and his wasn't as big. I'll never give him that one. But his just freely swam off, and he just chips. And he was going off at me. He's going off at his wife because his wife's turned around and started ribbing him and tried telling him what to do. Like,
good on her.
And he just lost it, and he into her, and then I was like, oi, mate, no need. Like, if you want to have a dig at yourself first. But I'm more than happy to cop a bit of flack there. Like, I probably could have done a little bit better, but I was a bit amped up, and I was on the wife's side, and he'd already ground me down with his attitude. Yeah. And then the rest of the work crew were just into him. And that didn't end well. Like, we got back, and I wouldn't be surprised if they got divorced after that.
Oh.
Like it was quite tense, and he'd fully spat the dummy. And
he really took his fishing serious.
and me being me, I probably should have taken my foot off the pedal a little bit, but I actually had another good one with a cobia one day. We hooked up, and I'm standing next to this bloke, and he's winding it in. Water's crystal clear, and I look down, I can see this thing coming up, and I'm like, cobia, and he's like, nah, it's a freaking shark, mate, it's a freaking shark, cut it off. I'm like, mate, it's a cobia. they look like sharks. Like, they look like sharks. Trust me. Nah, a few more winds. It's coming up, and then he's just turned around and grabbed the knife off the bait board, and he's just cut his line. Because the boys are pulling in nannies, and so he thinks he's missing out because he's hooked up to a shark. And, he's cut off probably a 20-kilo cobia. And then the funniest part about all that, like, I'm then into him because I've never caught a cobia. And I'm just like, mate, like, you serious? And he's like, there's a freaking shark. Don't try and pull that one on me, young fella. And then this cobia swam all the way up and swam underneath the boat.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
And he just looked at me, and I just smiled, and I just shrugged my shoulders, and I said, well, maybe you'll listen to the decky next time, mate.
Yeah, yeah. If he listened in the first place.
Oh yeah, but that's the beauty of charters is the people that you get. Like you get good ones, you get absolute weapons. I've probably got another good one if we got enough time.
Yeah,
mate, we have all the time in the world.
Righto. So we did this one charter, picked the guests up. They were already on the drink up at Sales. And we get everyone on, throw ropes, off we go. About 2.5 hours in, one of the blokes has staggered in and laid down on the lounge inside. Another hour, I'm like, yeah, righto, fellas, we've got dinner up, everyone up. And old mate's climbed off the couch and he's pissed the bed, or pissed on the couch. Like 3 hours into the 7-day fishing charter. And he's gone and pissed on the couch that everyone has to sit on and watch movies at the night time. And all these other blokes. So you've got, I think he would have had 11 other blokes on board, and they're just into him. And I'm like, oh, righto, like, he's your mate. It's a bit harsh. Like, yeah, fair enough. Like, you've got hammered at the pub before getting on the boat. Anyway, this other bloke pulls me aside. He's like, oh, mate, I feel real bad. Old Joe over there, he only started work with me 2 weeks ago, and these are all my mates, and we had someone pull out, and he loves his fishing, so I got him in on the trip, and I've only known him for 2 weeks. I didn't know he's this much of a piss wreck.
Oh, no.
The whole boat doesn't even know the bloke. He's come out with all these random guys, and then he's pissed the bed in the first 3 hours. So I'm just like, this poor... Yeah, they didn't hold back. They didn't hold back.
Oh, no.
And I'm just like, freaking righto. I'm feeling a bit sorry for you, but righto, control your drink and your bladder. And next day, he's come up to me and he's got like probably about an $800 overhead rod and reel combo. And I'm like, righto, we're not up the creek. But anyway, and he's had 3 beers and he's maggot. And I'm like, righto, you must be a bit of a tank. Anyway, he comes up to me, he's like, oh, you got any gang hooks, young fella? And I was like, oh yeah, we got some here, I can make you some. And he's like, yeah, cool, I'm going to live bait for Spanish on this little combo. And I'm like, mate, I've been doing this for a year now, and each time I re-spool my little Abu barra reel, it gets spooled freaking in a day because sharks come through. But he's like, nah, I know what I'm doing. I'm like, yeah, righto, mate, whatever. Hooked him up some gang hooks, puts on a big live bait, and he's like, make sure you're ready with the gaff. And I'm like, yeah, righto, mate, whatever. Thinking he's a bit of a wanker. And sure enough, 4 minutes later, off he goes. He screamed at me, get the gaff, get the gaff. And I'm like, yeah, righto, mate. And I look out, and sure enough, here's about, I think it ended up being 28 kilo Spanish. Wow. And I'm like, right, this is a big dog. Like, we're in for a fight here. He's on a creek outfit. And I proceeded to watch him for about maybe 4 minutes. He just thumbed this thing, walked it like a dog around the back deck of the boat, and was just screaming at me to get ready for the gaff. And I'm just looking and going, mate, it hasn't even done one run. Like, a good Spanish has got 3 runs in it. And this thing hasn't even left side of the boat. Like, I'm just watching him just leash it around the back of the boat. Sure enough, he's like, you ready? And just walks this thing straight up, and I sunk the gaff into it and had it on the boat. And I'm just looking at him like, you nutter. Like, what like, you're looking at me, I don't even have the words to describe. Like, I was just blown away. And he just looked at me, just cocky-ass smile, and he's like, I told you. And I'm just like, now get me another beer. And I'm like, yeah, right, more than happy. And
yes, sir.
That afternoon, he comes up to me that afternoon. He's like, oh, I just want to thank you for today, young fella. Like, I really appreciate it. You didn't really back me, but here you go. He gives me half a $50 note. And I'm like,
Half a $50 note.
like, okay, cheers. He's like, you've earned that, but I'll give you the other half when we get back. And I'm like, yeah, righto. You're giving me a torn $50 note, like how I think the bank takes it. So anyway, next morning we get up. I think he'd pissed the bed again, or he's thrown up in the cupboard. And we get up and walk out the back. Sure enough, here he is ganging another live bait. Throws it out the back. I go inside, and I think we're doing breakfast or doing the dishes. And we're on a big 65-foot west coast. I don't know if you've seen Norcat, real deep charters. They're out off Port Douglas now. But they were out off Mackay. That's who I was working with. And, sure enough, he's onto a GT at sunrise, and he's walking this GT up and round the outside of the boat, round the anchor, back down the other side, and did the same thing in about this was about 15 minutes, and he had a 32-kilo GT on board on a little bait caster outfit.
Wow.
Yeah, I was just in disbelief. I'm like, what is this guy? Like, what kind of superhero is this?
Yeah, that's what it's like to chase cod.
He must have the same condition I do, because every time I get onto a good fish, they don't play up on me.
Bullshit.
Aaron has been quite frustrated with me over the last couple of trips, especially at the marlin trip.
Yeah.
Had a marlin trip, and he just walked right into the boat after about 20 minutes. He was pretty good.
90-kilo marlin, and I think it was at the back of the boat in 15 minutes. And
whereas, you hooked up to one, and it took you 15 minutes. He got off, and then you had another, half-hour fight after that.
Yeah, I think a 45-minute fight, and I wasn't even halfway back. I'm like, Dane, you bastard. So you got the easy one, and mine was no bigger.
Yeah, that's right. Same size.
And it's same with cod. Like, his cod have all dogged it and fucking wouldn't have pulled drag of 5 pound. But
yeah, that's right. Yeah, the last cod I cracked, it went 93 centimetres long. It was pretty good. And I hooked up, and Az goes, is he good cod? And I went, oh, not really. He's all right. And it wasn't until he got to the surface we saw the size of him, and he goes, nah, again, he's not fucking playing up.
Sounds like they're intimidated by you.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, it must be.
I hope that's what it is. I'd love to do some more game fishing and just drag them in.
Yeah. Easy as that, they reckon.
That's nuts, mate.
This bloke, he ended up losing that rod and reel. So I think we got to the last day, and he set up another live bait, and he's tanked. He could barely stand. I think the night before that, I'm pretty sure, because the rule was 2 people left on deck at all times at night time, and no one would stay up drinking with him, and so they'd all go to bed, and then he'd try and sneak out onto the back deck to keep going fishing, and the boys would get up, and I end up getting up, and I'm like, mate, I'm giving up trying to get you in bed. So I actually tied him to the boat with a leash long enough that he could only get to his rod in the rod holder, and so he could fish, but he couldn't go any further. And I get up that morning. Next morning,
give him a bowl of water give him a bowl of water and a bowl of food next to him.
I left him a water bottle next to where he was tied up to, where he would come back to, and I woke up the next morning and he's curled there, and he's covered in red wine. He's spilt red wine everywhere. He's covered in red wine. There's probably about 15 fish in the esky, where he's just been killing it all night. I think there was another Spanish in the esky too. I'm like, this bloke is an absolute weapon. So got to that next lunch, and he's just tanked again. Sat down, make himself a big seafood burger, and he's gone and put his little overhead in one of the holes for the gates at the back instead of using a rod holder, so he can sit there eating his burger. And I'm like, mate, don't do it. It'll get hit. And he's like, no, I've got it, I'll watch it. And then 30 seconds later, off it goes, bending. And he's just picked it up with one hand, burger in the other, and he's just grabbed it, and then it's just ripped straight out of his hand in the water. And we've got about 3 knots of current running past the back of the boat, and he's run down the duck board, and he's going to dive in, and I've just grabbed him by the pants, and I'm like, You ain't going in, mate. You can't even stand, let alone swim against current. Oh, it's an $800 boat. Look at it. No, I'm like, nah, too bad. I warned you. And we got to the end of the trip, and he's going to leave, and I'm like, oi, where's the rest of me $50 note? And he's just like, stuff ya. You cost me a rod and reel. You wouldn't let me go swimming, so he left me with half a $50 note.
Was it the good half or the bad half? Did the bank accept it?
No, it wasn't. It couldn't do nothing with it.
He probably never had the other half. He was just bluffing you all week.
No. As he walked off, he pulled it out of his pocket and waved it at me, and he's like, "Yeah, basically,
wow.
Borat, you'll never get this," and walked off.
Wow.
Mate, that's pretty funny. There must be some absolute weapons and characters you've seen over the years.
Oh, mate, yeah. I've had to tie people to poles because they just get that out of control. I've had bucks trying to fight me because I like to job of the decky is to rub the right people the wrong way, and special talent of mine, that's for sure. And yeah, I've had bucks trying to fight me because I'll teach them how to catch reds, even though again it's just shit talk. I wouldn't have a clue. I just talk it up as I go, and then sure enough, you wind it in, and there's a nice big red on the end, and I just then rub it in. I'm like, yep, told you. I did that with the midnight Spanish. That was my first ever overnight trip, and I think it was on the first night. Everyone's eating dinner, and I'm like, you haven't got a floating pilly out for the old midnight Spanish boys. And they're just all looking at me. Like, these guys have been on fishing charters for 15 years, this whole group. And they're just looking at me like, what's a midnight Spanish? I'm like, haven't you heard of the old midnight Spanish coming through? Hey, the old Spanish come through at night time? And they're just looking at me like, you don't catch Spanish mac at night time, mate. And I was like, true. Just talked it up. And then, right, you rigged the rod up. So I'm like, yeah, I'm wasting my time here. Rigged up a rod with a pilly, thrown it out there. I've gone inside to do the dishes. And then I look out and here's this rod bending over and all the boys are screaming at me while they're eating their steak. And I've come out and I grabbed the rod and I'm like, here you go, who wants the Spanish? And they're like, it's a frickin' shark. And finally one bloke got up and he's like, here you go, I'll take it. Wound it in and it's about a 16 kilo Spanish. And this was at the time when I hadn't caught my Spanish and I just thought it's a shark and I got to go do dishes. So I was like, I don't want to get stuck fighting a shark. The boss will be off me. It's my first trip. I don't want to get in the bad books. And sure enough, they pulled in a 16 kilo Spanish, and I think I woke up the next morning with about 5 in the esky, and all these blokes stayed up all night chasing the midnight Spanish. They thought I was a legend, and I was just like, yeah, told them midnight Spanish.
Fuck.
Oh, just an offhanded comment turns into a whole fiasco. That's amazing.
Oh, mate, that's I love that. It's more than a few times those little bits of shit talk come to fruition.
Oh yeah. And Aaron's done that a couple of times to me for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
Chat something up and like, I don't know about that. Give it a go and it works, and for whatever reason.
Fucking hell, mate. It's just good under knowledge, mate. You just walk out there, have confidence, and it works.
Yeah,
exactly,
that's probably the biggest thing.
Yeah, healthy little bit of manifestation and a bit of shit talk, and away you go.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's how PBs are caught.
Oh, for sure. So, mate, we sort of brushed over at the start and we told everyone that you're from Mudskippa. Well, that's your company, correct?
Yep, that's the one.
Can you just give us a brief overview of what Mudskippa actually does? Like, what do you do?
So Mudskippa's, we're forever forming, I guess, or adjusting to what we are. But we basically started as a fishing clinic service. Actually started out just as a fishing apparel brand, just trying to raise funds for my Combos for Kids initiative, which is basically takes secondhand fishing gear and rehomes it to at-risk kids in the community.
Awesome.
That was the initial idea, and then I was pouring my own funds into it, which I didn't have, just to fix up some fishing gear and put some nice kits together. So I thought, good cause. We'll sell some shirts. I'll start a fishing brand for a good cause. Sell a few shirts. Help me with that. It turns out you don't sell that many shirts, as most apparel brands probably work out pretty quickly. But it was the branding's been awesome, and that laid the foundation for what we do today. Because as I quickly worked out, these kids needed a lot more than just being given a fishing rod. And that was my initial thing. Was I went into the local youth shop and had this grand idea, like fishing. Fishing essentially saved me in my own journey. I was battling chronic pain for about close to 4 years, a bit over 4 years. Took me down a bit of a bad path. I wasn't doing the best, so I moved to Ellie Beach and started fresh and got back into the marine industry. But yeah, long story short, I thought it'd be a good idea to give some kids a fishing rod who may not get the opportunity. And yeah, from my first instant walking in to the use place, went like, oh, good deed, here you go, fishing rods, ladies. I'll do me good deed and leave. And they were just like, Brent, these kids need more than that. They need mentors. They need someone to show them how to use it. And yeah, we left that day, and I just looked at me missus and just went, something needs to be done about that. I need to do something about that. It ignited a fire within me, and at that point, I found my purpose. As they say, the big thing these days is finding your purpose, finding that thing that gives you drive in life and makes you happy. For me, that was my fire. Like I said, look, I worked in charter boats before. I love helping people catch fish. I love seeing young people catch fish. That always gave me that feeling. And then I just found the missing piece of the puzzle. That just quickly snowballed. And the more people I talked about it, like people were giving me fishing gear. People give me $600 rods at the moment that I'm sort of just stockpiling, getting ready to start raffling off. It's phenomenal what people give me. But, I've started doing that, and then the more people I spoke to were like, oh, what about me? What about me? I'm a single mum. I'm a single dad. I haven't fished since I was 6. It's just the stories I get told about my story resonating with people. Like, I'll actually give you that one. We'll go through it, and then I'll give you one story at the end about a bloke that messaged me about his own story. That just snowballed to basically where we are today. We offer fishing services in the disability, youth and tourism sectors here in Mackay and Airlie Beach with Sundays because the demand was phenomenal. We're working more towards the youth this year. Like, I got a bit sidetracked last year. I actually got injured again, which brought back my old back injury. I've refocused this year, and we're working on opening up our charity sponsorship packages now. So we're partnering with an established charity. People at home can sponsor a kid for $70 for a clinic for 2 hours. They can sponsor an event day. They can buy a tackle box or a tackle kit for a kid. We're even looking at trying to partner with a bigger retailer and actually make it so you can purchase a kit through our website, and then I can just ring a local retailer in whatever town you are and go, look, there's ring a local youth place and go, look, there's a fishing rod or two waiting at the local tackle shop for you to pick up and give to a kid. It's just snowballed so quick. We got a lot of publicity coming in soon. So I'm just trying to get everything ready to go at the moment. It's sort of made me fast track it. It was all coming together, but yeah, with what's coming, I'm now just like taking all the ends and I'm trying to get it all ready to go because it's pretty phenomenal what's coming together at the moment. For example, I'm on this podcast right now thanks to a good article from a local journal who saw my story, and like at Christmas we handed out we take the second hand gear, but 10% of Mudskippa apparel proceeds or profits go towards combos for kids, more essentially the giving of new gifts at Christmas time, because that's always a tough time. If you're a kid, there's lots of families. Like, look, not everyone's on the bones of their ass, not everyone's homeless, but as you know, families struggle. As families, like especially at the moment, like it's tough times. Last Christmas we handed out however many fishing new combos. And then I also handed out gift vouchers for our clinics when they reopened this year. And the best thing was that I had more demand for our fishing clinic vouchers than what I did for a new fishing combo.
That's brilliant.
That's awesome.
Which was awesome. There wasn't people looking for a handout for some tackle. There was people looking for our service, which was just awesome.
That's amazing.
So that's where we're working back in that with the disability is a big one here. But the youth is where it's at for me, because the thing is they don't have funding. Like NDIS disabilities have funding. We make it affordable enough so families on holidays or even just everyday families can afford our services. We don't make a lot of it, but it's enough that the business will be ticking over. We used to do it for free. I've made it very hard. That's why I also struggled last year, because I was trying to make it available for everyone and we weren't getting what we needed in return. again, if you don't make it profitable for the business, then you don't have a business or a service to provide to these people.
Yeah,
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's all coming together well. Like, I think we got shirts in five stores in Mackay Beach now.
Awesome. Yeah.
So yeah, it's all coming together now. It's amazing. Like, where I'm sitting today. Yeah, it was only 3 years ago I started the idea, and took my old fishing gear to the local youth shop, and 3 years later we're getting ready to hit the ground running. I can't go into too much detail, but
that's fine.
It's coming together, and it's exciting. So I think I might need a few more staff if you guys want to come teach kids how to fish. you get paid a pretty decent wage.
There you go.
Mate, it sounds pretty enticing offer. It's a bit of a drive every day, but
I'm in early in June. I'm definitely going to have to come have a look.
Yeah,
I think so. So I don't know what New South Wales is like, but Early Beach is a pretty beautiful spot.
Yeah, it's a magical place, isn't it?
Yeah. Just thinking about what you're doing for those kids up there. Like, I can't imagine what I would have been like as a kid without a bit of fishing gear. Like, I was lucky enough. I grew up on the river. It was a 200-metre walk down to the river from the property and go plonk a line in, and that's entertain myself, or riding motorbikes and that sort of stuff. And I dare say Az is the same. That's probably how you kept yourself entertained.
Oh, mate, fishing was huge for me. Like, if I wasn't fishing, I was in a bad place. So
that's it.
Getting up to mischief.
That's why I do what I do, because I fell back on fishing, and that's what I looked at. If I didn't have fishing, like, hey, I didn't have a bad upbringing, but I fell on hard times with my battle with pain, and that was falling back on a healthy coping mechanism. Like, fishing was the thing that I used to pull me out of the darkness, and I just look at it and go, well, what do other people do?
Yeah.
So
it definitely works. Like, you see so many people, and it's good to see what you're doing and what we're trying to do, and bring the shine to fishing through mental health, and just shed a bit of light on it, that it is a bit of a gateway to help out, clear your mind, get rid of that head noise a bit more, and learn a few things and enjoy what you're doing. And it's great, mate.
Definitely.
It's good to see.
Take a moment, take some fresh air, and appreciate what's out there and what's around you. And again, you look at the birds, the fish, the trees, and you just it chills the mind. And that's more so, like, that's these past few weeks, doors are just opening for me. And like, I'd always had an idea to want to step into maybe like helping people with chronic pain, like I went through. And I had a door open a couple of weeks ago. There was a men's mental health and suicide awareness night at the local PCYC across the road from my house, and I just thought, oh, look, I'm 100% better than what I was 5 months ago. I was really struggling at the end of last year, just dealing with the pain, and I didn't take the time off when I should to let my mind and body heal. I kept pushing on with the business, chasing that purpose. And I made a few adjustments to my life at the end of last year, because I was done. My mind and my body was I was fried. I was burnt out. And I world of difference to where I am now, sitting here talking to you fellas. And I wandered across the road to the PCYC and watched this thing with the Outback Mind. They've put together a suicide awareness movie. And he got up at the end and started talking about coping mechanisms and understanding your emotions and all the stuff that's scary to blokes, and started talking about like using meditation and taking a step to changing your diet and all the things that I did 5 months ago to turn my life around. And I got up at the end and just said, look, anyone, this isn't a question, but anyone sitting here looking at these things thinking they're big, bad, scary things, talking about your emotions and understanding your own emotions and meditation like it's hippie shit. I said I bit the bullet after 4 years of battling chronic pain. I bit the bullet and finally did this shit, and it's changed my life. And that was awesome. And so now I'm actually stepping into an ambassador role with the Outback Mind, and doing a monthly showing of their suicide awareness movie, and telling my own story, and starting to open these circles, because that's what Aaron's doing with the Outback Mind, is he's opening up these men's circles in all the different communities through New South Wales, Victoria, Queensland, open up a spot for blokes to come together and start to chat about their feelings and get it out there, and start learning how to cope with their shit. That's
awesome.
a big thing I'm stepping into now, because that's what I also realise is while I've been focused about helping the kids, you also need to help the adults, and you need to arm the adults with the right tools to help themselves, and then that's how you get the generational change that I'm trying to achieve with Mudskippa and Combos for Kids.
Yeah,
that's magic.
That's unreal, mate. Yeah. So, what was it? Outback Mental Health.
The Outback Mind Foundation. So I actually did a podcast with Aaron last week. Yeah, the Outback Mind Foundation. That one we go into pretty big detail with my own story and the stuff that I've done to turn it all around and keep chasing the dream. Really recommend it. Like if you want to start looking at your own mental health and just a few things. He dives real deep and has a chat to a lot of big name celebrities who you might be surprised to actually get on there and have a chat about their own feelings and their own journey.
Yeah. No, that's cool. That's definitely something we'll have to have a look at. And,
absolutely.
Yeah, have a search into it. And it's good talking to people like you, like from different state, different types of fishing. And there's so much relatable things, even though we're worlds apart. And just to hear stuff like that, Outback Mind Group, and I think that'd be great to be implemented out here.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's unheard of out here. So
so it's definitely something we'll have to keep our eye on.
That's the thing, like suicide affects all of us. We all know someone, or we've all had a moment in our lives where we've had a thought that we wish that we'd never had, and so it affects everyone. And so the more that we can talk about it and give people the tools and the space to start talking about it, because that's the big thing, is people they hide it away because they're ashamed of it, and you can't get help if you're hiding it and you're ashamed of it, and there's nothing to be ashamed of. Like, that's for me. There needs to be more survivor stories. And look, I wasn't really bad. I did have a couple of moments, very very brief moments that did rattle me for even having that thought. But for me, there needs to be more of this. More real talk. Like I love a good bit of shit talk, but there's also needs to be a space for some real talk and some people to go, look, I've been through it and I'm on the other side, and follow me.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, well said. Well said.
Yeah,
mate. I think I'm about all out of questions for today, but you have a bit of a meeting or something to get to a bit later?
Yeah, I've got to get to the fish stocking meeting, so I've got to go have a chat to them boys. I'll leave you with this one story. I think it was 2 Christmases ago. First Christmas after I started the Combos for Kids. Like I said, we're getting a bit of traction, a couple of news articles that some of them I didn't even know about. I would just get told that someone wrote an article and then I couldn't even get a copy of it without paying for it. But anyway, that's a different story. I got a message from this bloke about a week before Christmas, and he just said, "Hey Brent, I saw your story. I see what you're doing with Combos for Kids and Mudskippa, and just wanted to say, I really love what you're doing. Your story really resonates with me." He's like, "Look, long story short, I grew up in North Queensland. My dad was a professional fisherman. I think he was homeschooled. Just basically just lived with his dad, just fishing in a beach shack up in North Queensland. And then he's tragically, he was about 12 when his dad died. And then he moved to Brisbane to live with his mum. And he's like, I didn't handle it very well. I rebelled. I went off the rails, getting up to no good. I can't remember if he said he ended up in jail or he was close to going to jail a few times, just running amok, like the problem we have today with the youth crime crisis, probably Australia-wide. Yeah. And he said, look, I just spiraled, and it wasn't till my 22nd birthday, so 10 years after my dad had died, one of my mates, I didn't really have many friends, I'd probably burnt bridges, one of my mates took me fishing. Yeah. And he's like, that changed my life. That day, that experience just lit the fire in me, and I just realised then that I needed to turn it around. And he did. He turned his life around. He's like, look, now, how many years later, I'm talking to you, I've got 2 kids, a wife and a house. Just here's $75 at your local tackle world. Use it for what you're doing, or buy kids something for Christmas for me. Keep up the good work, have a good day. And I was just like...
that gives you goosebumps. That is...
Yeah.
So one bloke's life had been changed that quick over fishing.
Yep.
It's
And that's how one bloke's life got changed. Like, he lost his dad. And, he went off the rails, and there was probably a lot of people out there condemning him, and like I said, he nearly went to jail, but these things happen, and as a 12-year-old, you don't get given the tools how to deal with it. You don't get given the support network, and
not at all.
Yeah, and these are all things that, again, we don't get taught, and as adults, we don't know how to handle the situation as well with these kids. So there's so many factors, and that just resonated with me as to he's like, I got taken fishing by a mate, and that was the turning point for me, and here I am today living a happy, successful life, and probably should have been dead or in jail. And I was just like, I still am lost for words, and but for me that's fuel to the fire for me, and that's not the only story that I've got like that. That's probably the most severe. But I get heaps of stories like that. Everyone wants to come and tell me how grateful they are for getting that introduction into fishing, or some certain thing that they found themselves in a shit situation and fishing helped them. So that's why we do what we do, and that's why I try and teach not only kids but everyone to embrace the chase no matter what they're doing in life.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's an awesome sentiment you got going up there, mate, and it's pretty
pat yourself
profound.
On the back, mate.
Yeah.
Oh, I've actually got a Aussie bite at the moment, but
No, well timed. It was well deserved.
Oh, mate. Well, we might leave you there. I reckon we might have to have another chat in the future.
Absolutely.
And get a few more stories out of it, especially about a bit of spear hunting, spear fishing. Spear hunting. Well, you know how it is. But, I have got a mate who does it, and he likens it to like underwater hunting. He reckons that's the closest thing. He's like, you get down on the bottom, you hide behind rocks, and you're sort of stalking the fish, and you're moving slow and precision, and you're trying to get in the right place, and sort of feeling the energy off the fish of like what they're scared, or they're trying to they're pretty comfy with you and that sort of thing.
It's a good way to feel alive. I'm not as stupid as what I used to be when I was younger. I've got a lot more to lose these days. But when you're diving in a metre to a metre and a half visibility, and you've got your gun pushed up against your chest, and your thumb on the trigger because it's that dirty, and you're literally just shooting shadows. It's a good way to feel alive.
Yeah, unreal.
Or you dive down the bottom and there's a turtle shell with meat hanging off it, and you're like,
oh dear,
I'm not feeling too comfortable today. Hey, he's well fed. That's the way I looked at it. The tiger shark.
Yeah, that's right.
Well fed. So, but no, honestly, thanks for the chat, fellas. It's been good. I definitely look forward to getting on for another yarn with you, and I'll dig a few more stories out of the vault.
Yeah,
bloody
beautiful,
mate. Sounds good. Right, mate. You have a good rest of your week. We'll talk to you later
when you're up here.
Yeah,
will do, mate. Thank you.
Right, buddy.
Great chatting.
Right.
See you.
Right.
See you, mate.